It's the middle of March and I'm in the Lauwersmeer for the first time this year. If you're a long follower of this channel, you know that the Lauwersmeer is one of my favorite birding spots, and I'm finally here. I hope to add at least 10 to maybe 15 species for the year list, and my main target is a pied wagtail. Let's see if we can find it. All around the Lauwersmeer there are beautiful spots for bird watching. This allows you to plan your day in a way that the light is always behind you. First stop lies in the southeast of the area and is called the Yab Densot. We're first going to check the height. Between the parking lot and the bird hide, there's a path with a reed bed on the left side, home to species like water rail, sedge warbler and bearded tit. On the right there's a grassy field with some small pools. The path to the hide is fenced on both sides with a reed fence to avoid disturbing the birds. I immediately heard a chatty warbler singing, but unfortunately didn't get a visual. Around the pools, especially in spring, many songbirds can be seen foraging on the ground. At the moment, mainly pipits, including this water pipit. This is a great spot to observe them because they forage out in the open, unlike many other areas where they hide in vegetation. Unfortunately, it was already a bit later in the day and I was dealing with some backlight. From the height, you can also look over the large water body. Some areas are so shallow that mudflats have been exposed, where groups of waders forage, including these lapwings. Right in front of the hide, a white wagtail was checking for food. Unfortunately, it wasn't the hoped for pied wagtail, the British counterpart to our white wagtail, which passes through in early spring and of which a few sometimes stay the whole season. At one point I heard the mewing call of a Mediterranean gull. After some searching, I saw the bird flying in. It looked like it was going to settle among a group of gulls already present, but after thorough scanning I couldn't find it among them. It turned out the bird had already taken off again, as I heard the mewing call once again and this time managed to spot it, flying away from me at a great distance. In this shot you can see it's not a fully adult bird, as some black markings are still visible on the wings. However, you can tell it's this species by the pattern on the wing. A black-headed gull would show a striking white patch on the leading edge of the wing. Other species can of course be ruled out because this bird has a black head. Next, a group of black-tailed Godwits flew in and landed right in front of the hide, where the lapwings were too. However, the Godwits prefer to keep their feet wet and often settle in slightly deeper water. The first black-tailed Godwits that breed here arrive in the Netherlands as early as February. I had already heard them several times, but this was the first time I managed to get one in front of the lens this year. A little further on, and deeper into the water, there was a small group of Avocets, another species I hadn't yet encountered on my birding rounds this year. After checking all the birds from the hide, I walked back to the path and continued on to the lookout hill. There's a nice bench on the hill, and you also have an open view over the area. You can also look at the pool behind you. The Dutch name of this pool refers to the first sighting of a redneck stint in the Netherlands on May 29, 1987. Nowadays the water level here is higher and there's rarely anything to see, although the hill is still a good spot to search for bearded tits. This time there was only a pair of grey-leg geese swimming. From the reeds I could still hear a water rail and a few bearded tits calling, but unfortunately the hoped for visual sighting didn't happen this time. Besides checking out the birds from the hide, you can also check out this bench behind me. From that bench you have an even better view over the fields, and also there's a pond behind you with reed beds around it, which is a great spot for bearded reedlings. Walking back to the car, I noticed a small group of water pipits a bit closer to the path. Always a nice sight, all those birds foraging in the field. Perched nearby on the post was another pipit species, the meadow pipit. Got 4 new species for the year list: black-tailed Godwit, pied Avocet, water pipit and Mediterranean gull. Also heard some others like bearded reedling, chatty warbler and common snipe, and I saw a faraway marsh harrier, but we'll get those species eventually. I'm now moving on to the Flenderbach. I continued on to the Flenderbach and spotted this stonechat foraging along the roadside. At the Flenderbach there's a lookout tower which, according to the sign on top, is meant for stargazing at night. Whether it's ever actually used for that, I don't know, but it does offer a nice view over the area. The water here is relatively deep, so you won't find any waders. That's one reason I often skip this part. In winter though, it's good for ducks, including the stunning shmoo. I didn't see any of those this time, but the tufted duck was there, as it almost always is. I'm going back to the car because it had started hailing. Luckily, the rain shower was short-lived, so I was soon out of the car again. North of the Flenderbach lies the old Robbengat. It's kind of a second-tier version of the Yab Densot. There are fewer birds here, and generally also fewer rarities. Still, interesting things do get spotted here now and then. At the moment, there were mostly lots of barnacle geese. The Lauwersmeer is a real gathering place for this species in early spring, before they head back to the breeding grounds. Once again, songbirds were foraging on the ground. I saw the skylark, and after a bit of searching, also spotted this reed bunting. In the middle of the Lauwersmeer lies the area achter de Zwarten. It's a bit hidden away, so you need to know where to go. First, you follow a road that leads into the area. After passing a campsite and a restaurant, you drive into a small forest. You can park your car there, and then it's a bit of a walk further into the area. First, you walk along a dike through the woods. Then, there's a sort of passageway you go through before entering the actual area. The path runs with a water body on one side and a grassy field on the other. First, you pass a lookout hill with another bench. This used to be the main spot to view the area, but now there's also a nice stargazing tower, so the bench has become unnecessary for me. From the tower you can see quite far. You look out over a huge grassy field before finally reaching the mudflats, where waders forage later in the season. It's also a fantastic area for species like Caspian tern and osprey, although they don't arrive until later in the year. Now there were mostly barnacle geese again. In the reeds along the water I also heard another chatty warbler, but as usual it didn't show itself. When you come out of the forest you end up at the eastern side of the Nieuwe Robbengat. It's usually worth taking a moment to scan the water here. You can often find interesting grebe species, like little grebes, blackneck grebes and occasionally a redneck grebe. In winter you might also see whooper and Buick swans and sometimes a bittern flying by. Back on the west side I saw another great crested grebe. Its beauty is often underappreciated because it's so common, but just look at those stunning sideburns. There were also some moorhens. The brownish bird on the left is a juvenile from last year. The next stop was the fishing harbour. On the way there I saw two magpies walking along the roadside. In my experience, magpies are quite shy, but these ones kept foraging at a reasonable distance. The sun was already high in the sky, which made it nearly impossible to capture the colours properly. A bird with such high contrast as the magpie is extremely difficult to film. Even filming in log mode isn't enough under such bright conditions to retain detail in both the white and black areas. However, you can clearly see the beautiful iridescent sheen on the wing and tail feathers. At the harbour, especially from autumn to early spring, it's worth keeping an eye out for seabirds, such as divers, auks, shacks, or perhaps a redneck grebe. In the eastern corner, during low tide, you might also find something interesting poking around, like a ferro rope. This time I saw the beautiful male eider. I'm currently in the harbour where I got my first of the year Oystercatcher, but furthermore nothing exciting is happening, but I'll keep on searching. I found the Oystercatcher on this small pier at the end of the harbour. Personally, this is one of my favorite spots to scan the sea from the car during strong onshore winds in autumn. The Oystercatcher came walking all the way toward me from far off and eventually joined its partner, who had just settled on the other side of the car. Just found a large flock of turnstones, which is new for the year, and also some purple sandpipers between them. That is a pretty scarce species here in the Netherlands, but the harbour of Lauwersoog is a pretty guaranteed spot for the species, so I'm glad I got them. It was a funny sight to see most of the purple sandpipers sitting just one level below a group of turnstones. During low tide, these birds often forage outside the harbour, but when the water is high, they sometimes rest in large groups on one of the piers. I also saw a cormorant in full breeding plumage. Not only did it have the white tide patch and the white feathers on the back of its head, but the yellow skin around its beak had turned completely green and red, giving it a totally different look. I'm now driving along the Ibond polder, which is a great site for breeding farmland birds like black-tailed Godwit, Redshank and northern lapwing. And the reason I'm staying inside the car is because that disturbs the bird a lot less than when I get out of the car. And also I can cover a large distance more easily and hopefully get some good shots of these farmland birds. See a group of brand geese, also a new one for the year list. The barnacle goose can be seen all over the country in winter, and the species even breeds here and there in the Netherlands. The brand goose, on the other hand, is really a coastal species. If you see one inland, it's quite a special sighting. In the Ibond polder, both species roam together, though you'll often see little groups of the same species sticking together. Black-tailed Godwit. Now I'm going to check with my scope whether there are any black brands or white-bellied brands in the group, because those count as separate species in the Netherlands and are rare. Well, not this time, but I am not too worried about their species, because I do think we will see them on the Texel Big Day. A beautiful black-tailed Godwit was walking not too far from the car, but in this shot you can clearly see the effect of heat shimmer on image quality. It's one of the reasons why filming or photographing birds in the middle of the day isn't ideal for capturing the best quality footage. In the Ibond polder I also saw a lovely pair of teal in one of the pools. There were many lapwings around too, with this one showing particularly well. I also saw a lone curlew foraging among a group of starlings. Suddenly there was panic across the polder. Flocks of geese started flying back and forth, and the waders took to the sky, calling loudly. That's when you know there's a good chance of a bird of prey in the air. And that was indeed the case, as soon after I spotted the country's largest bird of prey flying by. The white-tailed eagle slowly flapped its way northward. Whether it was one of the local breeding birds or a migrating individual, I couldn't say for sure. My next stop is located just outside of the Lauwersmeer, but it is such a special place that I always include it in the birding round here. It's the salt marshes of Pearsons, with very special birds like snow bunting, twite and short-eared owl in winter. Let's see if some of those species are also here in March. Near the village of Pearsons, right up against the sea dike, there's a shallow pool of water. Last summer, a stunning American golden plover in full breeding plumage was spotted here. I tried my luck a few times, but the bird always managed to be somewhere else when I showed up. Now it's March, and the shorebird season hasn't quite kicked off yet. I focus my attention on small songbirds from the far north, or maybe something exciting like a short-eared owl, but no luck today. With the tide out, most overwintering waders were way out on the mudflats. Only a Redshank and a few Dunlins were close enough for decent view. Still a welcome addition to the year list. Aside from a flyby great egret and a very distant white-tailed eagle, possibly the same one I saw earlier, the area felt pretty quiet. Walked around for more than an hour, but didn't see any of the target species, so I guess March is too late in the season. My next stop was the Bokhisplaat. This area has been intentionally flooded for over a decade now and can be viewed from the dike. There are several access points, but I usually go just south of the golf course. You drive past the gas installation with a sign that prohibits NAM vehicles to enter, but we're fine, and after parking, it's a short walk over a small bridge to the dike. Later in the season, when water levels drop, this is one of the best places for shorebirds. Right now, the water is still high, so it's mostly ducks. Even so, there's plenty to see. In one frame alone, I caught 5 duck species: shelduck, pintail, gadwall, shoveler and teal. Here's a close-up of a shoveler, with their brilliant green head and rich chestnut flanks. Then 2 more shelducks flew in, perfectly lit by the afternoon sun. Just beautiful. South of the Bokhisplaat is Oystercatcher, arguably the best place in the Netherlands to watch shorebirds. Pretty much every rare wader you can think of has turned up here at some point. At this time of year, the water is still too high and the season's a bit early, but already there were flocks of lapwing, black-tailed godwits and ruffs, and of course, barnacle geese were scattered across the fields again. On the west side of the road, a wetland area has been created so birds can still forage even when the main lake is too full. This spring has been dry though, so water levels here are a bit lower than in previous years. A special breeding bird in this area is the elegant black-winged stilt. Hopefully, the water will be just right when they arrive. Driving up to Oystercatcher, you can turn left for the northern section or right for the southern side. Right at the junction, there's a cutout of a white-tailed eagle and a handy gate that works surprisingly well as a camera tripod. I spotted a group of cormorants here and yet another beautiful shelduck stretching its wings. Then suddenly, a hen harrier drifted by, low and elegant. In the northern part of the reserve, 2 new benches have been placed on a viewing hill, giving a great overview over the area. The hen harrier circled past again here, always a treat to watch. In the center of the lake, I scanned a large group of birds, hoping for something new for the year list. Most were widgeons and godwits, with a few scattered ruffs among them. Eventually, I found a tighter group of ruffs much closer. These are all migrants. This species doesn't breed in the Lauwersmeer area. Across the country, it's a rare breeder, with only a few dozen nesting pairs. Still, Lauwersmeer, especially Oystercatcher, is one of the best spots in the Netherlands to see them during migration. In just a few weeks, the males will grow their extravagant ruffs, black, red or even white, and then it becomes truly spectacular. As I drove away, a sparrowhawk suddenly darted across the road and landed on a post behind the reeds. A few moments later, it moved again, touching down briefly on the ground before disappearing into the distance. After already filming one in Germany earlier this year, I was glad to finally add the species to my Dutch year list. The last stop of the day was the viewing hill near the pump. From here you overlook a wide reed bed, home to bitterns, water rails and bearded tits. You're more likely to hear them than see them, but every now and then a bittern will lift off for a brief flight across the reeds. This lookout has also given a great view of the white-tailed eagle nest for many years. Back in 2016, during our big day, we saw one of the eagles perched proudly on the nest. That specific nest is no longer visible, but a newer one further out can still be seen, especially on clear days with a scope, if you're lucky enough to catch one of the eagles sitting on it. So I got at least 10 new species for the year, but sadly no pied wagtail. And all in all, it wasn't that exciting of a birding day, but I hope you liked it anyway. Please subscribe, please like and press the bell notification, and I'll see you in the next one.